opens up the box and plays the game. He never reads instructions cause they're lame. He's Bowser. He plays the game so badly, his eyes are twitching madly. He's here again so sadly. He's Bowser.
Hello, welcome back. Right, as you can see from the title, today I'm playing Push Off from Software Projects 1983. It's a game that will run on in 16K, obviously very early on in the Spectrum's life. It was one of the 5 games sent to me by Brian Dickinson, great bloke, and I've not done one of these videos for a while. The reason being is that, you know, just been busy with various bits and pieces, life, work, etc. And so I've fallen sort of like way behind on where I sort of wanted to be sort of schedule wise. People that have sent me stuff that I've still got to get around to doing videos on, and I will do. Mel the Bell, your Commodore 64 cartridge, that's coming soon. Alan Turvey, your Airwolf mod that you've done. Dave Clark, your Impossibubble. They all will be coming up in the very near future. I just haven't had the time to do them. Anyway, yeah, so it's a game that runs on 16K, which there were many great ones out, and it's kind of something that it sort of gets forgotten about. I think the 16 sort of K Spectrum scene. Now I did do a video probably coming up 2 years ago that I'll link to below, titled 10 Great Games for the 16K ZX Spectrum. So if you want to check out some games and see just how sort of like good and how surprised you might be that sort of games that are considered classics of the Spectrum era, some of those were actually 16K games. And there's a couple of curios in there as well. So by all means check it out and see what you think of them. You know, give them a play. Now, Push Off. No, absolutely nothing about this game. Absolutely nothing at all. As I hinted in the pickups video, to me Software Projects was only really Manic Miner, Jet Set Willy, and the only other experience I have of them is Dragon's Lair 2, Escape from Singe's Castle. Those are the only games of Software Projects I had ever played. So all of these ones that Brian sent me are completely new to me. Now what I like to do is just sort of like go into the game and just try it from scratch, with no sort of help, try and sort of learn it myself. That's good in a way, but sometimes it means that because I'm not the world's greatest game player, I get stuck and I don't have a clue what to do, and I have to head to RZX Archive or YouTube to find a video on how to play it. Now, first when I loaded this up, it is a fairly simple gaming concept, but I had to you know, look on YouTube to find videos on how to play it. One of the first ones I came across was Funkyspectrums, which I will link down below as well. It's a very funny video. RZX Archive as well is useful for gameplay videos, etc. if ever you're stuck or struggling on anything. But yeah, there's a link to George's video in the description box below. It's very funny, very entertaining. Have a look at it if you want to. If you don't watch it. It's as simple as that. Right, so the premise of Push Off is that you play a ladybug, Bertha, garden's being invaded by ants, etc., and all sorts of creepy crawlies, and you've got to get rid of them on each screen by pushing blocks onto them to destroy them, while avoiding being caught by them yourself. And there's also like alarm bells in there, similar to Pac-Man, where if you get one, it sends them sort of like running for the hills, turns them into lumps of jelly, and you can then go and sort of kill them that way and get extra points. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load this game up because I want to show you something, going back to 16K. Right, see how quickly this takes to load, because this is not a very long load at all. It's, oh, hang on, what's going on there? Oh, the bloody thing's come out. Whoops. Technical troubles, sorry about that. The thing actually came out of my phone. So let's try it again. There we go. we're right there. Oh, that screeching noise when the earphone jack wasn't properly connected really sort of went through my head and rattled my teeth there. Now, games that took forever to load, we used to moan about them, didn't we? But nowadays, with our PlayStations and God knows how many gig updates and installs that we have to do every sort of week or whatever whenever we turn things on, now it makes Spectrum games taking a long time to load actually sort of not that bad. I think the longest I can remember is probably Taipan, which I seem to remember taking forever to load. So there's a question for you. What's the quickest game you remember sort of loading up? And also, what was the longest game? Now, like I said, going on to current generation things. When I bought an Xbox One, it came with Gears of War, but it was a download, and it took hours to download, absolutely hours. And that's one of the things that really puts me. There we go, it's loaded. See, right? That was according to the thing on the phone. That was 1 minute and 27 seconds. Brian, I do apologise. I have tried to play the tape, but it's you know, I've tried all the things, rewinding it, fast forwarding it, etc. I just can't get it to load. I can't even get the information up on it when you get that first block of loading in, like the name of the program, etc. But I am still incredibly grateful for the gesture. So now we have push off loaded. Let's show you what it's like. And here we are, Software Project's Push Off, 1983 by Andrew Giles. Now this is just in its like attract mode at the moment, demo mode, whatever you want to call it. Like I say, I didn't know this game at all. Not familiar with much of Software Project's output at all. If you are familiar with this game, please share your memories with it, whether or not you liked it, loathed it, etc. Or if you're not familiar with it, whether or not this is going to make you want to try it. Right, as I said, the premise of it is you're at birth of the ladybird and your garden's been invaded by all sorts of insects and winged bastards, as Vilord Such would say. And you have got to kill all of them on each particular screen. You do that by either dropping blocks on them or into them, etc. And you can also, the bells that you see, the kind of Pac-Man touch, if you get the bells, that turns them into like lumps of jelly, which you can then chase around the maze and you can catch. Right, so let's go into Push Off. Now here we go. Right, so there we go. That's me, the ladybird, and I've just activated one of those bell things and managed to... Ow, bollocks. And managed to turn them into sort of jelly, which you know, has worked on that occasion. Ah! Now, graphically, it's really sort of primitive. But then games like this don't really need to look particularly smart, I don't think. I think the style does well. You know, it does what it needs to. And right, we're on screen 2. And everything's clean and colourful, very little sort of attribute clash, if any, actually. And it really sounds nice as well. The spot effects that there aren't annoying, as some spot effects could tend to be. There isn't any music in it, but you know, that's not particularly a horrifying thing either, really. Bearing in mind this is very early sort of Spectrum, 1983, and it was playable on a 16K. Come here, you fucker. Yeah, now this game, like I say, the only sort of difficulty I've had with it is the keyboard layout. It really is quite unconventional and really quite sort of strange and tricky to get used to. Now, for someone like me who is not the world's best game player, that could be quite off-putting, the fact that the actual layout of the controls rather than any sort of lack of skill might be to blame for any sort of demise that you might suffer. Now, that being said though, this game is really enjoyable. And I love things like this. I love discovering games I never ever knew about back in the day, and finding out that there are some absolute gems out there still to be discovered. You know, how the Spectrums library is vast. I've said this before. Oh, bollocks. There's always something new to play, and a lot of the time that new thing that you find is absolutely fantastic. Now, there's another question I want to ask you, is a game from back in the day that you were never aware of, but that you've played recently and you believe it to be an absolute classic. Right, come on. Or an absolutely fantastically, wonderfully playable game. Now, for me, I would answer that with this to start with. Or also, I'd say I really enjoyed Caves of Doom by Mastertronic. Really pleasant, little, difficult as anything, but really, really fun little game. You know, it seemed games like Push Off seem to have the sort of mix just right. You know, and any sort of faults in it are minor, really. Oh, gold. Come, oh, you fuck. Oh, good lord. Okay. Yeah, any faults in the games are, you know, tiny, you know, and not particularly horrendous game breakers. Like I said with this, it's purely the keyboard issue that I have an issue with. Everything else is just spot on. You could say, look, the sprite for the ladybird or the graphic for the ladybird doesn't move, whichever direction you're facing, etc. But, you know, to be honest, it doesn't destroy anything, doesn't kill the game at all. Yeah, it would be a nice to have, but, you know, it's not there. It hasn't been there for 35 years. It's absolutely fine. It doesn't bother me at all. So Push Off, really, really, oh, fantastic little game. Thank you for sending that out, Brian. I really, really appreciate that. That is a great game. I'm interested to see what the others are like, and I've actually been playing that for a good while, a good sort of 45 minutes, an hour, and really, really enjoyed it. It's simple, it's addictive, it's colourful, it doesn't sound too horrible. Really, really great. Go and try it out. If you like the video, please let me know. If you wish to subscribe, please do so. But if you do subscribe, please, please, please join in the discussions. Thank you ever so much for watching. Take care. Goodbye.